Okay, we are live on all three. I'm doing this again. It's the standard situation for me. I thought I'd jump on because it's been a few weeks. It's been a chaotic couple of weeks actually dealing with everything. And I'd jump on and say, people have any questions, update people on what's going on in Greece, because I've only got one more week here before I'm back in cold, beautiful Melbourne. I'm seeing people's Instagram stories up at Falls Creek, and there's still a lot of snow. Hotham, Mount Buller, so I'm not looking forward to that, given that I'm about to hit the beach tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting situation getting back there. But I'm currently in my renovated place, the one that I've been doing for a while, actually. So essentially, I was taking care of two places. This one blew out a lot more than what I thought it would, and I've kept recordings of everything and absolutely everything. When I get back home, I'm going to start doing like bits and pieces of showing you guys where it's like how it was, how it is, and sort of what I've been doing. We're currently waiting for this one to be rented out. I knew it wasn't going to go for 550. We started at 550. Now we've ended up at about 500. We had someone come in and offer 530, and I just didn't like the way that they were going. So I don't really care about just getting money and getting someone in. I'd rather have someone who's legitimate, who I just like, even if it means getting less, $60 a month. It's not gonna affect me. What's going to affect me is if I've got issues down the track with this person that I put in here just to get that extra 30 euro a month, and then I've got issues down the track. So I'll explain on that on separate videos. But basically, this took a lot more out of the pocket than what I expected, just purely out of renovations. And not renovations, actually. I painted it and I just ended up rendering a place inside of the wall where I ripped out the cornices or whatever they are. You can see them behind me where the curtain is. I ripped those out in the bedroom. And then obviously just furnishing it, white goods, blah, 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 blah. So all of a sudden I was, 6-7 grand deep in euro, which that money was then going into the new place that I'm building, which is a loft apartment. I've started that process, and boy, has that been fun. Dealing with the council, dealing with permits, dealing with applications, dealing with Greece, dealing with everyone going on summer holidays, and builder can't start yet, and then the tile guys closed, and blah, blah. Oh my God. So my dream was to have it done by the end of this trip. There's no way. We've started drilling into the ground. Then we realized the ground was concaved underneath, so we had to rip out the old foundation, pour in new foundation, get that ready for tiles, which was a blessing in disguise because we ended up getting more height in that shop. And then we built the second floor, the first, whatever you want to call it, the loft area, and just put the stairs in as well. So, and then I had the stair guy stand up in there, and he's about 195, and he still had a bit of room above him on his head, which made me really happy because it means that the bathroom underneath is going to have some space, and the bedroom above is going to have some space. Anyone over 2 meters, I think I'm going to have to cap the rental. In the rental, I'll be like, listen, anyone over 2 meters, you might struggle to get to bed, but it should turn out all right. The stairs look good, and now it's just simply starting to build the bathroom, getting all the bathroom accessories, tiles, looking at cabinetry for the kitchens and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be a slow process. Now, unfortunately, I won't be here to film any of it. I'm trying to find someone in Greece who I've got a tenant who deals with property videos, like doing videos for properties and stuff like that. And I said to him, like, will you pay some money, come down here and film some stuff? So let's see how that goes. But essentially, I've kind of put a hold on it. If it gets done by Christmas, it gets done by Christmas. If it doesn't, and it just slowly gets done, and we finish it off when I'm back in Greece next year, and then I can continue the process, so be it. It doesn't really bother me. I'd rather just get this done nice and slowly and properly than rush it out for some content, It is currently the time for rentals to be snapped up because the school years are starting now. So the school year goes from about September, October till May, June, because obviously they stop for summer break. So now all the students are coming in from islands or from Athens or from wherever it is, and they're also going to islands and actually probably not islands, but they're going to the big places, the university towns, and they're trying to find rentals especially furnished rentals. Now, I've got a feeling it's probably not going to go to a student. It's probably going to either go to a couple or a highly paid professional. It is a bit big for a student, although I did have a student in here last time, but the rent was also €200 cheaper, and they were getting an incentive from the government or help from the government or whatever it is because they were a student. So they were getting at least half their rent paid for. So effectively, they had a 50 square meter home, which wasn't furnished and wasn't fully touched up. I mean, we had renovated this in 22, so it was still good. But they were getting this home for €150, essentially paying us 300. But I doubt that it's going to go. I mean, it might go to a student, but we'll see. I had the person who came in here who wanted to drop 530. There was 2 students who are studying 5 minutes around the corner, nursing at some kind of, I don't know, college or whatever it is. And they were cousins, 2 young girls, and they were going to live in here together, and both families paid the rent, and they were going to share a bed, which apparently is very common here. I was like, at some stage, one of them's going to probably partner up. How's it going to happen? I mean, the couch turns into a bed as well, but like, yeah, whatever. But these things are not uncommon to happen in Greece, especially among students, where a couple of them will share a bed. Obviously, share. I mean, I was flat mating throughout my college years, but I had my own room, my own bed. So it's a common practice here. I guess they come from places where, I mean, at home, everyone still lives at home, right? Even 50-year-olds are still living at home. I couldn't do it, but it's not an uncommon thing for Greeks to just sort of still live at home to save money, to make it easier. So definitely students could probably live together. But I reckon it's probably going to go to a couple, most probably, or a high paid individual. And I don't mean high paid as in thousands and thousands. The area isn't one to attract those kind of people. I'm not, in a high end upper class area by any means. I'm more in the lower end of things, which is I bought it, very cheap at the time. So we'll see. I'll probably settle at around 500, 490, somewhere around there. I reckon maybe even 480, but I don't think I'll go any lower than that. And if I do that, it's a year contract, which is what all the agents are sort of umming and ahhing about. Because people are trying to say to me, so firstly, I have never really wanted to go, would you buy in Crete Hangar? Yeah, absolutely, I would. In fact, I just got off the phone with a client about an hour ago who's looking at a place in Crete, and we've just done the legal checks. They're buying a place that's got a hammam attached to it, so it falls under an ancient heritage listed site, which then we needed to clear the fact that they can actually buy it, that it's clean, it's not owing money, and that you're actually allowed to build on it, because you can buy it, but if the government goes, hey, we're not going to let you do anything, then you're left with an ancient ruin that you really can't do much with. But no, that's all being cleared. Unfortunately, I think it's been snapped up by someone else, but we're about to find that out anyway. I'm having a meeting with my lawyer a little bit later on, and we'll start the process tomorrow of trying to find old mate who has decided to maybe give it to someone else by the sounds of it. We'll see. But what I was going to say about real estate agents, with regards to rentals here, I don't generally go to a real estate agent. Can you say happy birthday, my friend Sock Matty? Happy birthday, Sock Matty. With real estate agents, I don't necessarily go through a real estate agent because they don't really do much. In fact, that real estate agent who had brought the other family in, I said, is there any kind of legal checks that we do? And he's like, not really. And then I spoke to my lawyer, and he goes, look, we can we can do legal checks in the sense that if the guy owns property, owns his house, we can do a legal check to see that, yes, he pays well, he is making money, because he goes, chances are the parents are going to be paying the money, which is exactly what was going to happen. So he goes, so we can, kind of do that, but there isn't any kind of legal checks in regards to who is this person that's going in? Are they working? Are they, do they pay? Like, what's the deal? And I remember saying this to my tenant last year. So one that I leased out last year is directly opposite a school, which is why he took it because his partner's a teacher at that school. And I was having this conversation because he owns Airbnbs, and I'm like, how is there no, any kind of police check? And I'm like, and he goes, yeah, but what would you need it for? I'm like, there's a school across the road. How do I know you're not a pedophile? And he stopped at that, I think. He's like, yeah, actually, that makes sense. I'm like, there's no way in Australia, opposite of school and you're not going to get checked, some kind of police check from an adult as well. Like, who's to say the guy doesn't have some kind of, predator sex record, whatever it is that they go on, which goes, hey, you can't be anywhere near a school. And all of a sudden, old mate's just decided to move on in with the view of the school. Like, that's a bit, anyway. But essentially, they don't really do a check. So then my theory is, well, then why am I going to pay you? Because the way that the real estate agents work here is they'll take half of the monthly rent from you and half of the monthly rent from the person they find. So really, all they're doing is just finding people, and they've put it up on Svitogato. And I'm like, well, I do that. Now, what they've started to do, because a lot of people are thinking this way, is they've started calling me and going, hey, let us take it off your hands. We won't take any money from you. If we find you someone, we'll just take money from them. I was like, that's fine. If you want to work for your money, go work for your money. I'm not paying you a cent. So I've given it away to about 3 or 4, just because I said, I'm not locking myself, just not the thing. I said, I'm not locking myself in with anyone in particular. I said, I've also got on Svitogato as well. So I don't know what they're going to find different, because if I'm looking for property in Greece as a normal Greek, on Svitogato or whatever website you use, and you see that the agents have got it, and then all of a sudden you see the privatized one, I'm going to go to the privatized one. Why? Because I'm not going to pay the agent half. So, I mean, cool. You want to do it, but I'm not taking it. I'm not pulling it from the thing. And at 5:50, I wasn't getting any calls. At 5:30, we had an agent bring us in. I jumped to 500. I started getting calls. I was like, okay, well, this is where it sits. And, and there isn't really much else going around here. For the same price or just a little bit less, they're terrible. So I was like, all right, that's fine. I'll be able to, that's kind of where I sit, maybe 480, 490. At the end of the day, 10 euros, $20, $18 a month. I'm like, it doesn't really bother me. I don't really care. I'd rather find someone nice that's, that suits the place and pays well. The best thing is that this property got evaluated from 3 agents. One said 115, the other one said 90, the other one said about 85. So I reckon the place sits at about 95-ish, more or less, because I like, as we see it, and I said, yeah, but we've got air to build above, we've got a whole bunch of other stuff. And they said, okay, well, the price will go up, but we'd need to go through the contracts to solidify all that kind of stuff. As we see it, it's probably sitting around about the 85, 90 mark. So I did the maths. I bought this for 19,000 euro in 2018. It's 2025 now, so what, 7 years. So we dumped 2,500 to just tidy up the bathroom, just so someone can live in here. And I think we put in a kitchen. I can't even remember, but it was about 2,500 euro. Then we started getting 250, I think it was, for a couple of years. Then after that, we kicked someone out. We started getting 300 from then on out. So for the last, I'd say 5 years, we've been making consistently 300 euro. Now, in 2022, I probably dumped another 10 since then. I think 10,000 euro. So that brings us up to about what? Let's just call it 30,000 euro. 30,000 euro with everything, minus the rent that I've made back, which has probably been at about 10,000, I think, over the last 7 years, more or less. I'm sitting on a profit of about 60,000 euro in 7 years. So if I decide to sell it right now at 90 or whatever it is that it sells for, 85, whatever, thereabouts, it's around about a 50 to 60,000 euro profit, which is what, $120,000, $110,000. I'm in the heart. Someone's asking which part of Greece. I'm in the heart of Thessaloniki. I'm in an area called Abdelokipos, just behind the train station. So not the most classiest of areas, but it's where I've grown up. To my parents are from, my whole family, etc. Over the years, it's kind of taken a bit of a downturn, but hence why I was able to buy this for 19,000 euro. So I pulled out a $40,000 loan from ANZ back in the day, a personal loan. Told them I wanted to go get married. Got married, all right, to this house. That's all right. Abdelokipos, Thessaloniki. Someone's asking again. So in the heart of Thessaloniki, just sort of behind the train station, about 5-minute walk from the train station. What I'm trying to say is that there's so much money to be made in Greece, so much money to be made, and the amount of negativity I'd copped when I bought the place was insane, and not just from other people, from family members in Australia who were like, "What are you're an idiot? Why are you doing this? Why are you buying? Da da da. The country's poor at the moment." I'm like, that's exactly why you buy, because the country's broke. Like, why wouldn't you buy? Greece isn't going anywhere. Summers aren't going anywhere. Tourism definitely isn't going anywhere. What do you mean, why are you buying? Now, that was the perfect time to buy. It was before the bubble burst. Now it's starting to go up. I was in Athens a couple of weeks ago with a client. We were looking at a place in Glyfada. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I've heard stories, because I was talking to agents at the time in Australia before we were coming up and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, everything's getting snapped up like that. And I was like, yeah, they're just saying that to just get a deal. No, everything is getting snapped up like that. New builds, the amount of new builds in the middle of Glyfada, we had found an apartment. We were going through the process, went through the legal checks, da, da, da. For whatever reason, he didn't like it. He's now looking at something in Vula. And there were legal issues at play. We were like, yeah, maybe not. And plus the land wasn't the best, da, 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 da. Whatever. We said no right at the 11th hour. But the amount of build, and we went for a drive. And I said, mate, have you noticed that in the span of like 4 blocks, right, around your place that you're looking at buying, and I shit you not, 15 brand new builds. We counted them out. There was 15 brand new builds of 5 stories, because that was the maximum you can do over there. 5 stories, either single floor apartments or split up into, doubles, that are all potentially sold off the plan. And I said, do you realize what's going to happen here over the next 5 years? And the reason for that was because of the Ellinikon, which is 5 minutes around the corner. The Ellinikon, it's just blown everything up in Athens alone, and the rest of Greece. Internationals are coming in and buying our properties because they're cheap, and they know Greece is in a rental. It's a weird time in Greece right now, because they're currently in a rental crisis, but they're also going through a buyer's market, but not buyer's market for them, buyer's market for us, the internationals who have got the money. So they're flocking in. The golden visa was at 250,000 euro, which was nothing for someone who's got money to look at Glyfada. So they're going to spend $1 million minimum, right, euro. So they were stumping it up, which is why Greece now upped it to about 850, depending on what you buy, what you want to do, whatever. You can buy stuff that are even less, but let's just say 850, argument's sake, because they're like, well, everyone's come in and snapped up all the things, all the properties. And they go extremely quickly, because the thing is, and he said this to me, because when I was in Australia, he had come here and had a look at this place, and there's like, it was in Varkiza, which is 10 minutes down from Vula. It's beautiful, but it's a little bit far from, especially in Greece's sort of terms, it was a little bit far. It's a 10-minute drive, but to them it's far. And he said, I was talking back and forth with the agent. She goes, tell him to snap it up. This is going to go. It's going to go quickly. It was €1 million, €1.1 million, I think it was. It was a penthouse, beach views on that set, mountain views in the back. Like, it was in pool, like everything. And he goes, yeah, look, I want you to come up and have a look at it. I was like, I'll come up and have a look at it in 2 weeks if it's still available. It was gone. And he said one thing to me, which made me realize, actually, I never thought about this, but he goes, man, in Australia, we go back and forth, this and that, da, 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 da. Yeah, sure, chances are you're probably going to look at a $1 million or $2 million property, upwards that way, because everything's gone up. But he goes, your competition is other Aussies. In Greece, your competition is the Arabian sheikh, who's got millions anyway. And when you're dealing with those kind of properties in the millions of euros, they don't care. They're like, yeah, like how much? 1.5. Here it is. They take it. Let's sign on the dotted line. And they would go. They would go very quickly. The agent was saying that. I couldn't believe it until I saw it firsthand. We were looking at stuff that we were about to put a deposit down. They're like, oh, it's gone to another one. Within days. And these properties weren't even finished. Like, they were still a year away from finishing, which is the ideal time for to buy, because obviously it's off the plan. The building's there. It's already half built. They've got the money, because with the money that you're giving them as well, they're finishing off the thing. But I just couldn't believe it. When opportunities arise, you have to have a go. I agree. The areas that are difficult or unfavorable, are there areas that are difficult or unfavorable to sell? Yeah, there are areas that are, again, it depends on what you want. It really depends on what you want. And this is the one thing that I say to every client that I speak to. right from the start. And I brought this back to my other client who was trying to marry these two things together. And I said, at some stage, you can't. What are you buying? Are you buying an investment or are you buying something for yourself? You can't really have both. And you can, but not for the budget that you set yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're looking to buy to make money and actually make money, the €1 million properties are not where it's at. Sure, they're the ones that are going to lease for 5-6 hours, and that's what they were saying. We're talking to the agent. We're like, can this lease out? And they're like, yeah, we'll lease it out to soccer players. And actually, every agent was like, yeah, it's probably going to go to a soccer player. But the soccer player might be there for a season, might not. So you might get 9 months of lease at 5,000. Then what happens? Especially if you're taking out personal loans and you rely on that money, then it becomes sketchy. If you've got the money, fine. Then you've got a beautiful place that you can technically make money off. But if you just want to purely make money and not really care, like this one, you buy something for cheap, you build it up, and then you start leasing it out, and you'll make money eventually with the market growth. Now, how cheap is it? How long is a piece of string? What do you want? What are you looking for? Which area? It depends. You can buy. I bought this one for €19,000 in 2018. Now there's no way you're touching it anywhere near that, and you're probably not going to really find more around this price tag anyway. In the center of Thessaloniki or Athens, forget about it. They're gone. That time is gone. It's like trying to buy Bitcoin for $10,000. It's not happening anymore. But you can still buy cheap. Cheap. But there's also other ways to do stuff as well. I bought a shop last year for €26,000. I'm now converting that into a loft apartment. There was 2 loft apartments, which I love about this, that I randomly saw just being built around the corner. I went for a walk just to the door guy, actually. And as I was walking to the door guy, I went past 2 brand new loft apartments, exactly the same as what I'm doing. Beautiful builds. And there was a guy there, and I said, oh, do you mind if I... And I said, what's the deal here? And he goes, no, this one just got sold for $85,000. I was like, $85,000? I'm like, oh my God. And he goes, yeah, the other one's being rented out for like $450. I'm like, 26 hours and I bought my one for. I'm dumping another 15 in it, 40. And it's going to look exactly the same because the exact same shape, measurements, exactly what I want to do. Exactly the same fit, exactly the same, maybe a little bit different with the bathroom, but like basically exactly the same. So automatically I know that they can go for €85,000. So again, there's money to be made depending on how you want to make money. But is this an investment or is it my dream home? Because sure as shit, I ain't living in a little 30 square meter loft apartment in Greece for €85,000. But I'll build it and make money off it. I'll lease it. I don't want to sell them. I don't find money in selling these things. I mean, maybe it'll come to a stage where I want to, but my mum is from Thessaloniki, but has been in Australia for most of her life. How much for a property? I mean, welcome to my life. I was born here, left, raised in Australia, in Melbourne. Parents came back in 2005, and we've been going back and forth. Again, how much for a property? It depends. What are you looking for, and what do you want, and what do you want to do with it as well? You want an Airbnb, you want a long-term lease. It just depends. Generally, rule of thumb, how I have made my money and how I'm operating. For me, I don't Airbnb. I just buy something as dog as possible. That's completely decrepit, as bad as I can. I mean, we're not talking extreme. Like, I don't want to fall, hinges falling off, but like something that you can just go, well, look, this needs a lot of work. And then you start bartering down on the price. And generally the prices are pretty low as well, because I know exactly once I walk in, I've done it so many times. And I know my builder, I've worked with him for 15 years. He's done my parents' stuff. Like, I just know, I can look in and go, yeah, it's probably going to cost about €15,000, €20,000. I'm probably going to get this much back. It kind of makes sense. So then you buy. I don't buy ready built stuff. I won't buy brand new unless I'm buying a dream house, unless I'm buying $1 million on an art, which I'm not even at that stage, but the same, we are in Melbourne. Yeah. So that's where I make money, but I've come here to invest in Greece. I'm not here to buy a dream home. Sure, at some stage I will buy a home, but even still, I find it much better to buy something that won't take much to gut, because realistically, anything you buy that isn't brand new, when was it built? Unless it was built in the last 10, 15 years. And even then, you might need to start changing stuff. You know what I mean? Like, by the time you buy something and you do, say for argument's sake, you want to do a reno. There was a client that I've got wanted me to go and open up the door and give him a quote and da-da-da-da. And we did that. We finally opened up the door. We had issues. Anyway, but I went through with my builder and he goes, this hasn't been touched since the 80s. I don't know, like everything was old, and you're like, oh, we can break down this wall. We can do this. We can do that. And he goes, yeah, but here's the thing. Once you rip out bathrooms and tiles, you're going to need to do the electricals because they're old. You don't have to, but why wouldn't you? Because you're already ripping everything out. You might as well change it because at some stage it's going to go. So what are you going to do? Fix a place, then start chiseling away at the wall to rip out the electricals because you want it to skimp out? Same with the piping underneath the place. If you're already ripping out a kitchen and a bathroom, rip out the pipes. Put in brand new pipes. At least that way it's brand new. Now, it makes sense, but at the same time, these things add up. So that's why I like to buy something that's completely barren and old, because I'm like, well, I'm going to rip everything out anyway. I'm going to rip out the tiles, standard half the time the mosaic from the freaking 70s anyway, or old shitty tiles. So I'm like, we'll rip everything out, rip the bathroom out, rip the kitchen out, and let's start fresh. And at least that way, I've done all my places that way, and I know for at least 20 years. What have I had to fit? Like I bought a shop in 21 during COVID, 12,000 euro, right next to the White Tower in Thessaloniki, a couple of blocks away, if anyone knows where that is. 12,000 euro. I think I ended up settling at 13. The guy needed an extra grand for whatever. I was like, yeah, fine, take it. I don't care. And I think we dumped again another about 15,000 euro into that place, just building it up and really firstly, we needed to convert it from a shop into a studio apartment. But 15,000 euro, I can't even remember. I can't imagine it was any more than that. It could have even been 10 to 12, to be honest. But everything's been done. I've got a nice little girl in there who was a student, now she's a nurse, pays on time. In the last 4 years, I have to rent 20 euro. That was it. I didn't care. We've got her on 340. But all I've had to fix, I think there was a leak with one pipe once in 4 years. And which we said, yeah, just get someone in. And she did. And we said, just take it out of the rent. But everything's brand new. Everything's brand new. And I do inspections. And there's nothing wrong. And she's happy. I even say to her, I'm like, is there anything you need? She's like, no, I've got everything. But it's fine. Everything's fine. So I'm like, all right, cool. Even with the last guy that I went through last year, the one that I acquired, leased that out. This year I went in there and I said, any issues? Like, nah. So nothing. I've said, is there anything you need? He goes, no, you got everything in here, fully furnished. So I've kind of found the blueprint that works for me. Now, other people, it doesn't work for. How can I get land valued in Greece? You got to go through a real estate agent. Depends where the land, obviously a real estate agent would be the first. Depends where it is and what the valuation is going to be, because you might have land, which I've got land. I've got a bit of land here, which I'm not happy about because it's land that's come from my parents. I don't generally buy land out without, but we've got land in Chalkidiki, in Kalikratia. Now, Kalikratia, we want to build a brand new place, but it's not zoned residentially yet. And there's so much legalities and so many issues. And then it's not even technically in our name. Essentially, someone owned land back in the day, subdivided it into 16 plots of 500 square meters and sold them off. Now, legally, that's my land, but legally, it's also not really, because it's not residentially zoned. And before 2012, if you had any kind of things on the land, you were allowed to build based on those, because now they fly drones above, take photos every year and go, oh, you've built a roof, you're building a garage, let's bulldoze that down and you're going to pay a fine. So it's very convoluted. But now next year, they're saying it's going to be brought up. What costs are involved besides solicitor with buying in Greece? And I'll get to your question very soon. Let me ask these questions. How cheap is it? What's the average reno costing? So 30K AD. Again, it depends, because you start, I'm in Thessaloniki and I've got a builder and I know my builder very well. And he does a good job. He also does me good prices. So yes, generally. Athens, probably more expensive because it's Athens, but you're also going to make more rent in Athens. Everything's high. You're probably going to pay more to buy it. So everything's added 10 to 20% in Athens. Islands are a whole different story as well. And this is the one thing I keep telling people. Thanks for the share. The thing is, islands are a whole different process because you're on an island and they're going to know whether you're a local or not. So whether they charge you, island prices, or you get in close with someone and blah, blah, blah. And the other thing is, do they have the materials that you need to build on that island? Is it a big island? Is it a small island? Do they need to bring stuff in from Athens? Do you need to bring a person in? When are you going to build? Yeah, so it really depends on an island as well. And again, like you're going to build in Mykonos or Santorini, it's going to be a whole lot different than when you're building Galimos or Skathos or something like that, for argument's sake. How do I get a trusted real estate agent in Evia? Trial and error. Simply that, trial and error. It's simply trial and error. That's all it is. You've got to just put it, and it doesn't really matter because it's not like they can't screw. They're not charging you for anything. You know, if they either make the sale or they don't. You know, if you're just getting a quote or an evaluation, we'll call 5 agents and they'll give you a brand. You know, they'll each give you a different evaluation based on what they want. Some will give you a lot more because they want to get your business, and some will give you probably an honest one. Whatever out of the 5, split it in the middle, and you're generally there. That's probably it. But they're not going to charge you to evaluate. They shouldn't charge you. Once they start charging, you forget about it. That's how you know not to trust them. Also, what I would recommend is, say if you're handing a property over to someone, ask them if they charge people to see it. If they charge people to see it, I turn the other way, because I'm paying you to sell my property. You're going to make 2% commission, you know, maybe 3 in Athens, whatever it is. Why are you making money off the viewings? Because some people are starting to charge €10 per viewing, whatever it is. Why? You know, and again, you don't need a real estate agent to sell. It's easier, it's safer, but you don't need a real estate agent to sell. You know, as long as your legalities are in order, it's fine. The rest of the paperwork falls on the onus of the person who's buying it, not you. Is it worth after paying all costs and taxes? How can you ensure everything's legal in sale, etc.? Lawyers, simple as that. Everything's legal. Everything goes to the banks. Everything goes to the banks. I say everything. We had someone ask us to buy in gold bars legitimately in Glyfada to drop the price. So like, can give me €200,000 in cash, who was from Sydney, mind you, who knew what the deal was. I was like, how are we going to get money out of Australia? How are we going to get $400,000 in cash out of Australia? He goes, I don't know, buy gold. Why don't you go and buy gold here? I'm like, why don't you just pay your taxes? So gave him a wide berth. But yes, generally everything, firstly, and I think someone asked this question before, like, what is the process involved? So essentially, lawyer, mechanico, which is a civil engineer, simulographo, which is a solicitor, and that's it. I think that's it. Accountant. That's it, isn't it? That should be it. I might be missing out on one thing, but it's basically that. The lawyer you don't need, really, other than you don't have to have a lawyer to buy a property. You'd be stupid not to, but you don't have to have a lawyer. You have to have a civil engineer. You got to have a solicitor because they're going to do the contracts. But you don't have to have a lawyer. Now, you've got to be careful with lawyers as well. What associated cost roughly on a purchase? It depends on the price of the purchase. This is where I was getting at. With my client in Athens, we went to a lawyer. I saved him $8,000 because the lawyer was like, oh, we're going to take 1%. I said, 1% of what? And she goes, the final price. I said, it's 1.1 mil. Oh, no. Well, let's make it 50%. I said, that's still 6 hours. Like that. I said, that's still €6,000 to do what? And she started justifying. I know what the process is. I've been through it plenty of times. So I said, my uncle will do it cheaper. It's not that big of a deal. It's a legal check, and then they're signing on your behalf if you don't sign yourself. You know what I mean? So lawyers are very hit and miss. They'll be like, oh, we want that. Generally, they're going to take 1% if it's under a certain, like 800,000, whatever it is, and you can generally barter. If it's over, then, you know, they're probably going to take 1% unless you can figure it out. But I would be very weary about lawyers. So, you know, it depends on the price. Let's just say 1% for argument's sake, or maybe 0.5%, right? Then a mechanico, depends what needs to be done, but a mechanico shouldn't take more than about a couple of grand, more or less 1,500,000 in euro, 1,500 in euro to 2,000, depending on what it needs. Now, the onus isn't on you to fix anything, especially if you're buying. But so for a simple transaction of, you know, what the civil engineer will do is she'll take the paperwork, and should go to the actual place, scope it out. It says 50 square meters. There's 2 balconies. There's this and that. Yeah, cool. It all checks out. If it doesn't check out, goes back to the real estate agent and goes, hey, these are wrong. The guy selling it needs to, or the person selling it needs to fix this. So that onus then falls on them. So the mecánico, again, depending on who you pick and what they want to sort of charge, but generally they're pretty legit because everything has to go through the government. Now, the simbolografo as well, again, the prices and the taxes are created by the government. It's generally around about 3% of taxes that you'll pay. The solicitor, the simbolografo, is where you'll pay the most money because they're the hoity-toity, high and mighty, and without them, nothing gets done because they're the ones who finalize the sale. It's not even a lawyer, it's a solicitor that does it. So, and technically they're lawyers, but they're not. Like, they're not going to come to court for you. They're just there to create contracts and whatnot. They will take a cut. They will take a couple of €1,000, just to create the contract and all that kind of stuff. Now, I generally say, as a rule of thumb, when looking at a property, add another 10% on top of the final price to cover everything. It won't be 10%. It'll probably be 7, more or less, about 7%, maybe even 6, depending on your luck. But I just say add another 10% because the dollar changes. You don't know what's going on. Blah 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 blah. Just so you're aware. I'm looking at 100,000, make it 110, and you'll probably walk away with some change, and you'll be happy. That generally will cover everything. And that's excluding. That's just for the purchase of the property. Now, and what about yearly costs approximately? Just trying to see if it's actually worth looking at investing. It absolutely is worth looking at investing. I'm telling you right now, yearly costs, I think, for just to own a place, a couple of hundred, like euro. There's no, you'll pay, if you buy a place that's got body corporate, which they call Kinokrista, which body corporate is old mate George upstairs saying, we owe the cleaner €10 a month. Well, then you got that, and to keep the lights on and whatnot, taxes wise, whatever. I don't even think, whatever it is for, if you're not really making money and it's your residency, I don't think you're not paying taxes. With me, that's leasing it out. I think I'm paying up until €12,000 a year. I think you're paying, I can't even remember, but it was very low in taxes. It wasn't like Australia where you're paying 30% tax or anything like that. After 12%, it starts to go up, but you still get taxed on the 12,000, and then you get taxed separately anything above 12,000 as well. And what do you recommend with purchasing a property and turning it into an Airbnb? Again, it depends. And Kalamata, I'm not too sure. I'd have to do a check on Kalamata, but I know people are looking at Kalamata, and Kalamata's gone up as well, but Kalamata is beautiful. With regards to Airbnb, you've got to be careful. And firstly, I stay away from Airbnbs because purely I'm not here to look at them, to monitor them, to do all that kind of stuff, which means that ultimately you're handing it over to someone else. Then there's issues there because they either want to take it on, they don't want to take it on, it's not worth their time. It is worth their time. They're going to take 35% or 30% of whatever you make. Then you pay extra tax on top of it. They brought my tenant who has Airbnbs, was saying they've brought out a tax now where you're paying €8 per night that you rent it out, an extra €8 for ripansito perivalum, which is the EPA saying, oh, you're dirtying the air. Tourists are coming in and dirtying the air. What? They're just taxing. I don't know how much longer Airbnb is going to be Airbnb in Greece, to be honest, because Athens as well has just brought out the ban on Airbnbs in certain areas in Athens, in probably the high areas. I mean, there's like 10 specific areas, and they're trialing it out for a year, which means that if you cannot get a short-term lease, you can't turn something into a short-term rental after October. If it already is a short-term rental, it can continue to go as is, but anything after October for a year is not going to be allowed. So they're trialing that out because I reckon what's happened is the Ellinikon's building up. It's an €8 billion project. Hotel people are probably coming in and going, hey, listen, we're losing money here. And they're probably oiling up someone high up, and they're like, all right, let's try and maybe muzzle out Airbnb. Even Uber hasn't been able to really crack Greece. They've only just started using the app here in the last year, where you can now book an Uber, but it's a taxi, and the taxi drivers have shut everything out. There's a lot of power in the people here in Greece. I'll be complete. Like, it's actually quite inspiring that if the people don't want it, it doesn't generally happen. So the taxi drivers banded together. Were like, we're not going to drive, and Uber's not coming in. Somehow they stopped it. And now what's happening is Uber's like, all right, let us come in and we'll use you guys, but let us just govern stuff, which actually is best, because it means that you can't get shafted. The price is a price, and it's already out of you. You know, it's safer to transact than some, you know, butterbutt fucking Yanni going, oh no, it's €50 to the airport, when it's not. You know, it's 35 or whatever it is. Oh, my machine's broken, so I need cash. No, it's not. No, you don't. But anyway, I don't even know where I was going on that tangent, to be honest. Do you think commercial property is better? Shops? No. Absolutely not. It's quite sad to see how much shops have actually shut down in many places, not just Thessaloniki. Athens, when I was there, a lot of shops shut down, purely because Greece went through something that I don't think we'll ever see in our lives again, and hopefully we don't. But it went through a trifecta, which actually has made it the sweet spot for us to be purchasing. It went through the GFC in 2008, where obviously everything shut. The world tumbled down with the financial crisis. So they were struggling to build up from there. Then they went through the 2015 capital control, with the bank shutting down for 2 weeks. No one could pull out money anywhere, and they still got capital control. We can't pull out more than €900 a day here from an ATM. You can go in, but there's still some level of capital control. And on top of that, after that, they went through COVID, where everything shut down. So shops are starting to shut down left, right, and center. There are so many shops that are empty, and a lot of people are buying these shops, like myself, turning them into rentals, converting them and turning them into rentals. So depends on sort of commercial property. If you're buying factories and sheds, or, you know, workplaces and stuff like that, sure. I don't really know, because I'm not really involved. But if you're looking at buying a shop to lease it out as a shop, not yet. Nonetheless, I'm not saying that it won't, but it won't now. And you might, but you're not going to get anywhere near as much as if you spent 30K on a shop, you maybe get 200 back. If you spent 30K on a shop converted, or if you spent 30K on something that brings back residential, you'd make more than that back. So depends. Buy the shops, by all means. Now is a perfect time to be buying the shops. But don't expect a return unless you do something else. Do you need 20% deposit to buy residential property in Greece? You do, as a Greek. As a Greek applying for a mortgage, living in Greece, paying taxes in Greece, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. As an external person to buy in Greece with a Greek mortgage, say that if they're taking on your financials from Australia, you've got to put up 30 to 35%. So that's the difference. But generally, it's 20% deposit in Greece as a Greek. Can you get a double-story apartment in Thessaloniki? Yes, you can get a double-story apartment in Thessaloniki. They're called mezzonettes. They're hard to come by. Depends where in Thessaloniki you go. You probably got to go more out of. They're not going to be in center of Thessaloniki. They're probably going to be more in the higher end areas, the higher market areas, the richer areas. And they're probably going to be a little bit more external. So like Panorama, or Oreokas, for argument's sake, or places that have got a lot of land where people can build that kind of stuff. Even in Athens, for argument's sake, Mazonettes, you're generally looking at the more expensive, richer areas where they're building new places. So Lifada, Vola, Vouliagmeni, Varkisa, all those areas. You're not going to find a Mazoneta, you know, in the heart of Athens, unless it's been converted and all that kind of stuff. They just weren't building them back then. And unless someone decides to tear down a building in the middle of Athens and rebuild, which is very unheard of at the moment, you know, you're not going to find them. So you can find double-story apartments. Depends. Get in touch, Vanessa, and we'll organise. We'll have a chat. Best growth area in Athens, mate, in all honesty, Lifada. I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. Which is unfortunate, because it's not untouchable, but to the common man, it's untouchable. Who's got €1 million, which is $2 million, really? Like, if you got that kind of money, Mac, run, because, you know, Lifada is expensive, but it's gone up. It's even more expensive now. So imagine that, because you've got the best beaches on mainland Athens around that area, like Vouliagmeni and all that. phenomenal beaches, right? The tourists don't really know about it. They're starting to find out, but they don't really know about it. Because anyone who comes in will go to Athens, go 3 days, let's look at the Parthenon, let's look at this, it'll Slovakia, and then off we go to Mykonos. So Glyfada is going up, but also because of the Ellinikon, which is starting to happen now, it's going up even more. And it's not even going to stop. They're building a brand new metro train station in Glyfada as well, because to accommodate that, to accommodate all the people that are going to come in for the Ellinikon. Also, the Ellinikon's got a brand, I think the first casino that Athens has ever seen. I was going to say Greece, but I know there's been a casino in Thessaloniki for at least 30 years. So it's definitely the first casino in Athens, and that's going to be around there. And that the Glyfada train station services that, the metro, which is a brand new thing that's being built. So it's going to go exponentially through the roof. Glyfada is amazing. I stayed there for 2 months this year, but there you go. It's gone so far. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going through the roof. It's already expensive, and it's going to get even more expensive. That's a crazy thing. So now I'm not saying that that's the only place, but that's the one place that I've seen a ridiculous amount of growth. A ridiculous amount of growth. Why? Because firstly, the new builds, but secondly, the higher end clientele, the upper market people that are coming in, and also as more people come in, more internationals who are cashed up, drop more cash, prices are just going up. Have you looked at buying in Idra? No. I like it because there's no cars. I didn't even know that Idra didn't have any cars. I know there's a few other islands that only have donkeys and stuff like that. But no, I haven't. I haven't looked at Idra at all. To be honest, where I want to buy next is probably Kalimnos, Lefkada, Zakynthos, one of those 3 islands, because they're about to go up as well. A few years ago, I paid €100 a night. This year, they were around 200. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're all going up, you know. And a lot of these places in Glyfada, all the new places, like the property developer had said to us, is like, there's no short-term lease allowed in this building ever. Same as the Ellinikon. There's a lot. I've had chats with the Ellinikon. They said to us, when we're looking, they're like, look, just so you know, these buildings you can, but the ones that are going to be on the Riviera, absolutely not. They're either long-term or privately owned, because people are sick and tired. They don't want randoms just coming in and out and ruining. You know, when you're dumping €1.5 million into a place where there's really 3 or 4 places in the whole building, you know, the one in Glyfada had 13, the one in Vulo's got 5. So, you know, you very low amount of places. You don't want randoms in there, especially if you paid upwards of $2 million. You don't want parties happening downstairs or randoms coming in and trashing and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting how it's all coming together and what Athens is starting to do with the Airbnb sort of blockage, not just Airbnb, anyone, Booking.com, whatever it is, the short-term rentals. I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of Greece starts to apply a similar thing. Not that they're going to phase out Airbnb. I don't think that'll ever happen, but it's going to become a lot harder. It's going to be taxed a lot more. And they're going to essentially try and give the power back to the hotels, I think. The Ellinikon developers, Greek, Germans, Jews, I'm not sure, to be honest. It's Lambda Development. I don't know who the heads are. I've only spoken to the people working there, and only briefly, just to organize, set up meetings. And they're coming down in October, so we're having a bit of a meeting in October to talk business. You said 20% deposit if you're Greek, but by that you mean you have a Greek passport? No. By that I mean that you're paying taxes in Greece and you're making money in Greece. So the bank will say, Greece and Australia communicate, just so people are aware. We don't have a double tax agreement, so they can constantly communicate. I'll answer that soon. For argument's sake, when I come back to Greece every year, they're constantly, I'm with Ethnic Gear. That's where all my properties go into and da-da-da-da. Oh, we need to see your tax returns from Australia. Why? Oh, because it's just our process. So they need to see everything. Before they release my money, by the way, I couldn't get my money out until I showed my tax returns. I'm like, oh, but you'll take my money without seeing my tax returns? Anyway, so when you apply for a mortgage in Greece, you've got to be written in the government that you are a Greek citizen. But then also by that, they'll go, well, how are you living? Because it's one thing to be a Greek citizen at the age of 40. Where are you making your money? Are you working? Do you have an income? Oh, my money's from Australia. Well, then how are you a Greek citizen? Are you so you've got to prove all that stuff. So if you manage to prove all that stuff and get through it, then it's a 20% deposit to the banks. But if for whatever reason they're like, we can't do this because it doesn't match up with the government systems and blah, blah, and you're actually from Australia, then you can apply as an external, still a Greek. You don't have to be Greek, just an external. It makes it easier if you're Greek because you got everything there. But you pay 33 to 35% depending on the bank, but it's somewhere around there. And of what they deem the property price, I might be selling this for 150, but the bank will go, well, this is actually valued at 80. So we're going to give you 35% of the 80. So you can still buy it for 150, but you're then finding the gap. Brenton, hi mate, thank you. In Melbourne, my house is worth 1.5 million. What type can I buy in Godfrey? With what? With the 1.5? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. As in to sell your house with 1.5 million and come here and buy it? Well, then I don't know. I don't know about Godfrey. I'd have to have a look. I don't know, to be honest. I'm a Greek citizen, but don't live in Greece. Will it be hard for me to buy a house? No, it's not hard. It's a process, but it's not hard. Like anything, it's going to be a process, and it's not going to be an easy process. I can guarantee you. You know, people have said to me, "Oh, we can do it on our own." Off you go. Believe me, off you go. Every time I speak to a client, I'm like, they go, well, what is it that you offer? I said, I'm taking the headache away. Quite simply, I'm taking the headache away. If you think that there's not going to be a headache dealing with Greeks, not speaking the language, mind you, because not everyone speaks English. Lawyers and that kind of do, but not everyone does, right? And not everyone does as fluently as you do. And also not even that. It's just the way that Greece works is going to cause you issues and headaches. And the headaches are coming at 3 a.m. because they're 7 or 9 hours behind. Oh, and they close at 2 p.m. here, by the way. Have fun with that. You know, it's a fucking headache, man. And it's just, yeah, it's been, let's just say I can't even, but everything happens. Everything goes through. Everything finds a way of happening in Greece. I don't know how they do it, but they do it, and you just got to push, and you got to know what buttons to push, and you got to know what to say, and how to push people, and and I can do this better, and like. But it's that kind of a process. You know, it's a lot easier in Australia. From what I hear, I don't own property in Australia, but I obviously know plenty of people that do, and I've heard and I've compared this to, and I'm like, man, this would never happen in Greece. And even still at the bank, I sit back and I go, what the fuck is going on here? How is this happening? You've just got to know the way the country operates. And if you don't, it's chaos. But if you do, or if you know someone that does and you trust them, then you just sit back and take it as it comes. And it does get, you know, it does get interesting and infuriating, but it happens. I already own one on an island, but I'm wanting to buy in Athens or something central. Which island, man? Can I use it? How much is the minimum or rough for a 2 to 3 bedroom in Athens? Depends which area. It's always depends which area. 100,000 upwards. How long does the application take and cost process? Again, as I said earlier on, costs, I don't know, factor 10%. It should be around about 6% of the final price on top of everything for your lawyers, your solicitors, your blah, 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 and your mechanical and all that. So depends. Rule of thumb is find something, add 10%, you'll walk away with some change. Basically that. It should be around about the 6 or 7%. Can you build on two stremata on a Horafi in Lefkada? This is an interesting question. I'm glad you brought this up because I'm currently going through this with my stuff in Kakidiki. It really depends on where the Horafi is. Really depends on what kind of zoning it falls under. I've got a Horafi in Lagada, which is like a farming area, and it's 8.9 stremata, whatever that is in thing. I don't know, hectares, whatever it is. And I've acquired all this stuff. It's my parents, my father passed away last year. Now I'm going through inheritance. So I'm now taking on everything. So I was talking to Mechanico and I'm like, well, can we build on it? And she goes, no, you're actually only allowed to build 400 square meters on 9 hectares of land because it's farming, which is nothing. It's a 2-story house, 200. I mean, it's big, but for 8 acres, 9 acres, it's nothing. So I said, oh, cool, I can subdivide. She's like, you're not allowed to subdivide. You're not allowed to, after whatever it was, whatever year, they brought out a law and you can't subdivide unless it's 10 hectares, upwards of 10 hectares. I'm like, so I'm stuck with this land now that all I can build is a farmhouse, have 1 million goats, it's fine, but I can't have a swimming pool, or I can, but so it really depends on the zoning that the place falls in. So if it's a Horafi, it could get interesting. If it's If it's a farming area, again, you're allowed to build, but with certain requirements depending on the place. If it's residential, if it's Horafi, but it's actually been zoned or it's in the process of being zoned, that's where you're on the money. If it's not, because I said, all right, well, I'll sell it. And they bought it for 10,000 euro 15 years ago. It's 10,000 euro. So the only thing I'm making is a couple of €100 a year from selling it to from leasing it to Farmer Joe, who's growing his freaking, I don't know, corn or whatever he's doing, his wheat, whatever it is that he's doing. So it depends. Lefkada is gorgeous. I've never been, but I've fallen in love just purely from hearing and stories and photos and everything. I really want to buy in Lefkada. Let's answer some questions here. Man, everyone's coming at me today. I love it. I'm generally sitting here talking to myself like a loser. I'm still a loser, but now I'm just talking to people. Did you recently move? No, I didn't. I come here every year. My parents live in Greece. My mum now lives in Greece. I obviously own my own investments and properties and all that kind of stuff. So I come here every year for summer because I can. I'm lucky with the work that I do back at home. So no, moving to Greece, it's, I don't know. Maybe I'll retire here, but I don't know. I can't. When people are making €800 a month here as a basic wage and working 6-day weeks, man, it's just like, what? And look, I'm lucky enough that I could probably, survive off the rentals that I make. But it would mean that I wouldn't be able to really make any more moves. Like, at least in Australia, I'm lucky enough to make a certain amount of money and be able to reinvest everything and utilize that and leverage off that and continue growing here. Whether I retire here down the track depends. My partner wants, if we have kids, whatever. But to move here now, no. I love the fact that I can go back and forth. And to be honest, my dream is to just buy something on an island and be able to go, I'm taking off to the island for a couple of months. Or my best friend's going to Greece. Here are the keys, go to the islands. Like, go use the house in the island, Yet they still seem happier than us. It's true. It's absolutely true. And I was saying this to, I randomly bumped into Aussies from Melbourne the other day. We went out to a rooftop and they were staying there and whatnot. And I said, look around you, man. Everyone's still drinking. Everyone's still smoking. Everyone's still eating. They're all out, this and that. Now, granted, that's probably the extent that they can do. They can't go to Spain, or they can't go. It's not that they can't. It's a lot less likely that they can go to Spain. It's a lot easier for Aussies to come to Greece than it is for Greece to come to Australia. You notice that it doesn't happen the other way around. Very rarely does it happen the other way around unless they've got money, or they're coming for, or they're coming for a holiday and they've got money. But they're definitely not moving there. I know a few, but they're not coming in droves like we're coming in droves. And that comes down to a cost as well. It's because we make more money there. Now, granted, the cost of living in Australia is a lot more as well, but you're still able to put aside a lot more money than what the Greek is in Greece. We are lucky in Australia, but it is work. But if you know how to figure it out and you can come and go as you please, then, you've got the best of both worlds. You want out of Canada. Interesting. I mean, I'm not surprised. Let's be honest. Are we all surprised that the West is, let's not start any kind of war now and get me banned. What do you do in Australia? I've started doing this. It's only been about 6 months that I've started doing this, but I generally work in film and television. So I am an actor, and I also work behind the scenes, building my way up to become a producer. And in the process, basically how I started was I was buying properties in Greece because my parents lived here. I wanted to invest. I didn't really financially, I couldn't really justify dumping, 400,000 on an apartment. And the figures weren't really doing well for me. And my mum was like, why are you buying Greece? It was cheap, 19,000 euro. So I bought, and then one led to another, to the next, to the next, to the next. And I started to see the growth here. But I was also handing out information to people. How do I do this? How do I do that? Oh, yeah, let me call my lawyer. Let me call my thing. Let me do that. And then one day, like last year, someone was like, why don't you turn this into a job? I'm like, who's gonna want this? Like, who needs help? Doesn't everyone know how to speak Greek? Doesn't everyone know what's going on? Apparently, freaking heaps of people don't. So, I'm more than happy to, that I'm turning this into my job and being able to help people. And buying Greece, really, like, I don't know. There's a lot of negativity around buying in Greece. I don't get it. It really does my head in. Look at the financials. Like, don't worry about what your uncles, sisters, neighbors, dogs, cousins, fucking squirrels said. Like, they don't know. Like, do they own property in Greece? Oh, they're going to screw you over. And immediately, I've had the first thing I throw back to people whenever they're negative towards me about, I own property in Greece. Oh, you buy in Greece? Oh, no, it's da da da. Greece is terrible. Da da da. I'm like, oh shit. I'm sorry to hear that you had a bad experience. When did you buy? Oh, I've never bought. Well, how do you know it's bad in Greece? Oh, well, I've been told. From who? Oh, my uncle. When did they buy? No, he didn't buy either. Well, then how do you know? Because I own multiples and I haven't had any. What do you mean? So where's this information come from? Your negative uncle who never did anything. No. Thanks, James. Take care. How much to buy in an island location house in good order? Again, how long is a piece of string? When people ask how much to buy on an island, I don't know, man. What do you want to buy? Santorini or do you want to buy in Thassos? Because they're going to be two completely different prices for the same thing. Like, where do you want to buy? How big do you want it? What's your budget? Like, what do you want to do with it? Like, it just all depends. It's not just one price. It's not like every island is a 5,000 per square meter. Santorini is going to be 15,000 per square meter, especially if you're on the Caldera. It's upwards than that. Do you rent your properties over the year or is it just over summer? No, I rent them over the year. In the past, many got screwed with property. Many got screwed with property because they didn't know what they were doing. Like, I know people in Australia that have gotten screwed. I've heard more horror stories from Australia than I have in Greece. So and just because people got screwed in the past doesn't mean that it's still the way. Because put it this way, fine, take in their information and believe them, they got screwed. They got screwed. Maybe they were idiots. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they got unlucky. I'm not one to judge. But look at what's happening in the world. Look at how many properties are being sold internationally to people that are not Greek. They're not all getting screwed. And they're coming in droves. Believe me, they're coming in droves. Greece isn't going to be Greece the way it's going in the next 10 years. The upper market is going to be Russians, Jews, Ukrainians, Bulgarians, Albanians, you name it. Because a lot of it's mafia money that are coming in and buying as well because they're laundering, but a lot isn't as well. What website do you search for properties for sale? Splagatos, generally, if you can deal with the freaking woeful pictures. Because I take photos of the ceiling at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, in the middle of winter, because why not? Because I can't be bothered. I bought a shack in Athens and I've lost everything. What do you mean you bought a shack in Athens and lost everything? Why did you buy a shack? Where was the shack? I'm actually quite intrigued by this comment. And I'm sorry that that's happened, man. I'm sorry that that's happened. Did you lose it because someone did a dodgy, or did you lose it in the process because legalities came through, as in like you bought something that wasn't legally zoned and you didn't know, and now the government's come through and bought stuff? Because this is the other thing that happens a lot. And it happens everywhere in Greece. People used to just set up shop. We're going to build here. Stuff that we're going to build here. Yeah, but now there's a road coming through. All of a sudden, they were building, like we've done in Kallikratia, where we're building a beach house, where we've gone, there's a road here. Generally, this is the road. Yeah, but the council hasn't said it's a road. There's a road because people decided to build a road. But the council might go, actually, Arthur, the road's going to go through your property. Now, they're not going to take your property. They're not going to do anything. But if you ever sell that property, that's where they're going to take, and they go, actually, you're not buying this whole land, you're buying this bit, because now that's road. And if you transfer the property, we're going to create that road. So there's a lot of those situations that have gone around, especially with properties that are old, extremely old. My uncle's gone through it with now. He's got his law firm and his son's accounting firm in the one property. But you can see that it pushes right out the road. And he said to me, he goes, if we ever get rid of this, if we can't, like, we can sell it, but they're not going to sell it for the meterage that it's at. They're going to take it back. And what they'll do is they'll literally destroy the building and then build new roads. He did a dodgy, I bought it, and the guy had looking after it knocked it down. Oof, far out. Get in touch with me, man. Let's see if I can figure something out. I can have a chat to my lawyer, and I don't know. Have you got anyone involved, or I don't know. Maybe reach out, man. Let's. I'd love to find out more because I hate hearing these stories. So if I can help you out, if I can point you in the right direction, or maybe have a look at some stuff, I'm more than happy to do that, man. Let's have a chat. But that's basically where I'm at. So it's been an interesting time in Greece. Live will end in 5 minutes. Oh, I guess maybe I'll just end it now then. What am I don't know what I need to do. Drag that. Okay, I needed to prove that I was human. I might as well end it. It's been an hour. Wow. Thanks for all the comments and the questions and everything. I hope I've helped you guys figure something out. I'm going to go and watch a Formula One now and then hit the beach, I think. But if you need to get in touch with me, buyinggrace.com.au or buyinggrace across all the socials. I'm here for another week. I know someone wants me to have a look at another property as well. So I'm more than happy to help out. You can find my number on the website. You can reach out to me, email me, send me direct messages. All this stuff gets lost. Last week, I put one up a couple of weeks ago, and then there wasn't any sound. So I don't know. I don't really do the social media stuff, man. I'm a bit too old for that. So if it doesn't come out properly, I apologize. Reach out to me. I might reach out to you soon. Please do, Costa. I'd love to. I love speaking to people about this stuff, man. I'm really passionate about this. I want to change that ideology that it's hard to buy in Greece and you get screwed over. I don't like hearing stories like yours, man. So, get in touch as well. If I can throw some stuff to my lawyer and just see, even ask a question, I'm more than happy to do that, man. I don't care about money. I'd rather help someone out in that sense. But anyway, guys, I'm going to end this very awkwardly. You'll see the dance that I'm about to do. But thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And next week I'm home, so I'll be crying for about a week. When I'm done crying, I'll jump on. All right, guys, have a good night.